Everyone is part of a bigger story. It's a bigger story than you can imagine. It's a big story about a really big God. Discover the story that shows you the character of God.
Hey friends, I'm Caleb, and this is my Bible. These words were written down over hundreds of years by dozens of writers who listened to God. And together, they tell the amazing story of how God made each one of us and loves us more than we can imagine. When we turned away, God had a plan to rescue us and restore us to relationship. So, at the right time, God's Son, Jesus, came to live with us. Jesus showed us how to love God and love others, and each of us has an important part to play in God's ongoing story. When we know that God has a purpose for us, it's easier to trust what God says and do what's best. I've got 4 stories right here to show us what that kind of self-control looks like. We're gonna get started in the book of Luke. Jesus has just been baptized by John with a whole crowd watching. Perfect time for Jesus to start his ministry, right? Not so fast. Instead, God's Spirit leads Jesus into the wilderness. For 40 days, Jesus spends time with God, so focused, he chooses not to eat. But he's not completely alone, because a sneaky enemy shows up with a tasty offer. Now we hop back to the Old Testament and the book of Proverbs. King Solomon, one of the wisest men to live, collected many wise sayings and recorded them. And in Proverbs 12, we read, "The words of thoughtless people cut like swords, but the tongue of wise people brings healing." Think you're just an ordinary kid? Think again, because your words are your superpower. Next, we're sliding back a few more books to 1 Samuel. Here, David, King Solomon's dad, has been anointed the next king of Israel. But right now, he's on the run from King Saul. As Saul and 3,000 soldiers head their way, David and his men hide in a cave. But instead of marching past, Saul stops at the cave for a little break, giving David quite the golden opportunity. Time to wrap up in Proverbs. Solomon has more sweet words for us in chapter 25, verse 16. "If you find honey, eat just enough. If you eat too much of it, you'll throw up. Too much of a good thing is too much." Kind of speaks for itself, am I right? The more we discover God's unique purpose for us, the easier it is to trust what God says and show self-control in hard situations. I can't wait to see how it shows up in you and me.